Good. Well, welcome everybody to this symposium for FX Street on the 25th of June 2020. Today we're going to talk about buy and sell zones, and I think most people are probably familiar with supply and demand, but I like to view supply and demand from a slightly different perspective, and I base this perspective on something called a buy and a sell zone. And so a buy and a sell zone is essentially a place where you can see that the price of an asset has reached an attractive price point. And so if price moves down to an area, a price level, and you can see a sudden increase in bids for that asset, well, then that clearly becomes a buy zone. Okay, and typically when I refer to these buy and sell zones, and I'll come into great depth on this in just a moment, I will do an analysis and I'll identify an area of demand. And the way I like to identify an area of demand is I like to look for a certain structure in price, so the anatomy of a certain price swing or a departure from an area of value. And then I use that as my starting point for identifying buy and sell zones for that area of supply. Okay, let me make it difficult. I'm just gonna, because my software does this automatically, but I want to go like this so that we can see nothing. Okay, so if we look at a price chart like this, I'm just gonna go to the daily chart. You can see that we have, price is just wriggling down like this for quite an extended period of time, and then price reached like a price point here that is very clearly a very attractive price for the Australian dollar. And so this I will mark off as being a buy zone. Okay, and I don't know what's below this, but I know that when price got to this price point, historically, last time it was there was a huge move of flows into the Australian dollar and out of the American dollar. So people were very happy transacting at that price point. So the next thing you need to do is you need to find out what it was the price was actually reacting on. And sometimes there is nothing because you can't see the historical data. And other times, like this time, there is something very important. And you can see here that we have a very strong move from this low to this high, and then back down to this low. Okay, this is the origin. Let's see if I can draw. Okay, so we had a move up to here, and we had a move back down to here. Okay, so the origin of this move, where is that thing here? Okay, so the origin, I can't even see here. So the origin of the move is here. This is where price got to. And this is currently the lowest point where price is at the moment. Okay, and so this, looking at this, I can see that the buy zone initially is down here. Okay, and I say this because we had this very strong price push, and between the top and the bottom, this is as deep as price went. So I'd mark it off like that. Okay, then I'd ask myself, okay, what is price reacting on? Price is reacting on demand right here. Okay, but inside this demand, there is an area, there is a buy zone. And this is what I like to try and find. And I can't see it on this time frame because we have maybe a slightly kind of bigger overview of this area, but price came back to this point. And when I see something like this, I think to myself, well, I do not want to pay a price any more expensive than the low of the deepest retracement since the origin of this move. And so I'll have to wait until price comes back below this buy zone before I look to start to buy. It doesn't mean that you can't do it on the smaller time frames, but it means that on the monthly chart that this is the buy zone, and so I can't buy above this price value. So I wouldn't be able to do anything here or anything else anywhere. I'd have to wait for price to move back down to this. Okay, and you can see these very, very easily. So the next question is, well, where did price go to? If we mark off the low like we did just a second ago, you can see that we had this very nice, we had a base that you can see just here. So let me mark one off. So we had a base. When I say a base, I just mean a period of sideways price movement after a decline in price and before an increase in price. So we have this, price went up and then we left. And so when I see this, I say to myself, okay, well, we have some interesting points here. We have this area of supply. And this is an area of supply because when price left here, we moved below this low. We did not manage to move above it or through it. We pulled back what I refer to as a slingshot, and then we left. Okay, so this one is gone. Then I have to ask myself, well, what area of demand consumed the supply? And then I say, well, this one did here. And the reason I say that is because when price came down here, we had one period of accumulation, and then price rallied. We had two periods of accumulation, and then price departed once more. So this is what we have right there. Okay, and then you can see that these two white candles here are telling me that we have additional accumulation. And this candle just here, the close of this candle is just above the high of the previous candle. And so this is where I can see something called a parent-child relationship. Okay, this is a child, this is an older sibling, and this is the parent. Okay, so price left this area here, this one here caused price to go above this high. Price tested the parent, we formed a child, we formed a younger child, and then price left. Okay, good. So that's what we can see there. And so when you see something like a parent and a child, in the way I like to view, the reason I use terminology parents and children in supply and demand trading is that it just shows that there's a relationship between two areas. Okay, and these two, actually these three, this one, and this one, they are all related. And they are related because this one here was established as a result of this one. This one here was established as a result of this one. And this one here is independent because this was established independent of any other area. You can see there's nothing below it. Price rallied, sideways, up, slingshot, pull back, sideways, rally, accumulation, departure. Okay, price came to this price point. It looks like magic, but it's not. It's not magic at all. And so when you see something like this, then you know that, well, this was the buy zone for this area of demand. And if we look above price, let me remove this. You can see that price had a tough time moving above this price point. You can see we had a test, we failed, another test, failed, another test, we had a fail. But notice here that we actually had demand just here. It was tested, then price came down on it. We kind of went down and we pulled back the slingshot to something in here, and then we left. Okay, so that is telling me that the beginning of the sell zone for this area of demand is just here. Sorry, the beginning of the sell zone for this area of supply is just here, because this one is no longer there. This one is removed. It was removed by something in here. We can't see anything on this time frame because we have to go to a smaller time frame. But you can see that we had price come down, we closed, we opened, we went up, we went down, we closed. And so this is telling us that we have something in here. We actually, within this, we have a micro slingshot. And if you've seen my material on YouTube, you'll be familiar with my use of the term slingshots. And this is just a very nice, clear metaphor for that, because price gets be pulled back and the slingshot is released. If you look at a normal like catapult or a slingshot, if you just pull like the pouch back just a little bit and you let go, I mean, the stone will fly maybe a few feet, a couple of meters. But if you pull that pouch back as far as you can until the elastic is almost about to snap, and you release it, well, the stone in the pouch will go flying really, 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 really far. And the same thing applies to trading, where you have like a huge slingshot where prices pull back really, really far, and then we leave. Okay? And so when you see something like this, this is a monthly chart. This is huge, absolutely huge, because this is a monthly chart. And you can see here that when price left, there's black space since it was established until price came back to it. If there were tests up into this area here, then I'd feel less comfortable taking that trade. Okay, and I wouldn't trade it the first time. I would wait for price to come to it, because when this happens right after this area of supply is established, then the sentiment has not really changed since the departure. Okay, and so I'll be comfortable getting involved with this trade at this price point here. I didn't take this trade. This is just me trying to explain exactly what the thought process. Does this make sense? Okay, let's have a look inside this little price window just here. Can you guys hear me? Just want to make sure that everything is loud and clear. I have very sketchy internet in the jungle here in Bali. I just want to make sure that you guys can hear something. Let me type. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. Super. Okay. I'll keep going. So you can see here that price formed this beautiful price pattern. Okay. But notice we have a couple of other areas that are also very attractive. We have this up here. This is a very beautiful price point, and I'm going to show the same thing here, where we have this. Oops, wrong thingy on the rectangle. So we have this. So we had this. Price went up. Slingshot was pulled back. Then we went up. We poked into it. Then we went up all the way up to here. Went through it, and then we left. And each time, price has a go at moving through this area of demand. The amount of liquidity available at that area is reduced. And I like to use the metaphor pancakes for this, where each area of demand or areas of supply, these are plates of pancakes. Okay, let's see if I can draw this. And so, I mean, you normally have, you have a pancake, like a plate, let's say it looks like this. Let's say you want a pancake, and then we're going to have a pancake here at the bottom, another one here. I can't even see where the mouse is, so I'm just kind of guessing. Here and here. Okay, and if I put that plate in the middle of a table where everyone is sitting and people are really hungry, they want a pancake, when they put their fork into the pancakes, they have to move their fork into the top pancake, like that, to get the top pancake. Okay, and once that one's gone, then they'll have to move their fork a little bit deeper to the next pancake. Oh, sorry, I can't really see where my mouse is, so I'm kind of drawing in the dark. Price goes to the next one, and after that one's gone, then this one is gone, and the fork has to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And when the whole area is disappeared, like we can see here, well, then you need to look for another plate of pancakes. Okay, so once this one is gone, then you're going to look at this. And once price has moved above this and all the pancakes are gone, then you're going to want to look at something up here. Okay, and it's super important to understand that, I mean, if price pokes into an area and the area has been revisited many times to the point where price has gone through it and traded through it and beyond it many times, there's nothing there to stop price from continuing to move either higher or lower. Okay, and if you look at this one here, this is a beautiful area. I'm just going to go on the weekly chart and have a look. So I'll zoom out a little bit and I'll scroll over. Now you can see here very, very clearly that we have another parent-child relationship. Where we have the parent. This is a white candle just here. The slingshot was pulled back and we left. And so this test is actually a test of the child. This one is a test of the child. And this one is also a test of the child. What does that mean? Well, that means actually that this child has been tested 2 times. So maybe we're missing the top 2 pancakes on the plate. And so next time, price is probably going to have to move a little bit deeper into this area. And so looking at this area right here, I'm going to zoom in so I can drive this point, make it very clear. If you look at this right here, where did price have to move to in order to leave through the area of demand we saw over to the left? Okay, we have this one here. This is the area of supply. This is the departure, the distribution candle. And price had to come up here, okay? Because price kind of traded around here. Nothing really happened. Nothing happened. But we got all the way up here. And as soon as we got up to this price point, I mean, people were very, very keen to sell Australian dollars and buy American dollars. And this is what you can see very clearly, price departed. Okay, so this is the beginning of the sell zone for this area of nested weekly demand inside this monthly demand. Sorry, a weekly supply nested within this monthly supply. Okay, the slingshot was pulled back and we left. Okay, so this is a really interesting price. And the reason, sorry, the way you know which one to trade is you always have to focus on the one that is yet to be tested. So looking at this in here, first of all, we have to identify an area of demand that was removed. Okay, and the reason I do this is because you don't have any volume readings in the retail FX space because it's such a decentralized market. I mean, broker A has volume readings for their customers, broker B will have for theirs, and so on and so forth. So you don't really have any accurate volume readings. So I don't know actually how much selling was going on at this price point. All I can see is what price has done. Okay, and so what you have to do is you have to find areas of supply or demand that have been tested several times and then removed. And then the area of supply or demand that removed the area that had previously provided support or resistance, this is the one you trade. Okay, so if you look here, it's not a lot of clarity, but price kind of poked into this area. Actually, on this one, we can see right here. You can see that there's some wicks here, so that we have a buy zone. Then there's the price tested the child. We went through this one. We tested this one. Okay, where do we have white candles that were able to move through here? Or where do we have wicks? Where do we have wicks prior to the consumption of this area of demand? We have them here, right there. And so this is telling us that we have a slingshot. So we have price moving sideways, and then we had slingshot was pulled back, and then we moved through it. And it moved back to such an attractive price that we managed to remove this area of demand. And so this is when you have to drill down and have a look. So if we do that, you can see here that price left from here. Okay, because when price came down here, notice it went through it, but it wasn't able to trade through it. Okay, price went down, and when it went down, we have a sell zone right there. You see that little wick? That's a micro slingshot. So price went down, price went up to that level more or less, and this is where it left from. Okay, and now price was able to trade. We're able to form full body candles below this area of demand. So price has to come to this red line before we can expect price to turn around. Okay, so price, you see this? Price came up and it tested it. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, price tested it. Price is fractal, obviously, and so price is going to make these same patterns on the smaller time frames. And so this is inside all of these wicks in this price structure here. There are perfect trades setting up on, for example, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. But for this time frame, which is the hourly, we want to wait patiently for price to enter the sell zone, because we know that once price returns to this area here, we're probably going to get a reaction similar to this one. We had a sharp departure, okay, and then price comes to it. We go a little bit deeper and notice that we formed an accumulation candle here. So this is probably going to trick some people, and some people are maybe going to get in along at that price point. And then price starts to close lower, and this is where we managed to move away. It all originated from right here, right where this one got to, which is pretty much the highs of this candle here. So we had the slingshot just here. Okay, does that make sense? Is it unclear, or is there something you guys want me to go over to kind of help make the point a little clearer? I can do another example. I'll delete everything. Good morning, Noel. So I'll delete all these, and we're just going to go to, we'll go to the 5-minute chart. Okay, we'll go to the 5-minute chart. You know, let's go to the 1-minute chart. I never trade on the 1-minute chart, but it's interesting to look at because the same thing happens over and over again. Okay, so, where did we have an attempt to move price higher for this asset? You can see we had it right here. See, we had test, failure, test, failure, test, failure, test, failure, test, sideways, departure, trade, price traded above it. Okay, so we had one here. Price came to it, and it went. and it moved away. Okay, price went through it, we pulled back, we tested the lows, and then we left. And we had another one here, how price tested this one, tested. But notice that this one's gone, and so you have to ask yourself the question, what area, what sell zone is responsible for removing this area of demand? So you have to look for the wicks. First of all, you have to find a high. Okay, you have to find kind of like a swing point, and here we have a swing point like this. Price goes up and it goes down. Then you want to find where price moved through this box, and the price moved through this box right here, right there. You want to find that high of that slingshot. Okay, the high of the slingshot is right here, because this is where price, I mean, we tried to go through here, but we failed. We tested it, we went up, we failed. I mean, nothing's really happening. Price pokes down into this area. They pull the slingshot back. We go almost to the top, and then we leave. So the origin, the beginning of the sell zone for the supply in this area, which is actually just here, so the sell zone was actually a little bit deeper, it starts just here. So this is our future point of reference when price comes back to it, and we tested it a few times. Okay, okay, let's keep going. Let's do another one. So, okay, here we have one that's actually playing out right now. Notice all of these tests at this area. It was tested once, twice, 3 times. Price tried to have a go, but we failed. What's going to happen? Well, I think price is going to rally until we find something. So we try and establish a sell zone, and then we move away. And if you look at what we have here available, we had this area that was in here. This is going to be very roughly marked off. Tested a few times. Okay, the area that removed this supply is where? It's around here. So this is the area that removed it. It was tested once, twice. Price went to it. We failed. The slingshot was pulled back, and then we left. So that pulls. Sorry, this is a supply, and here is the slingshot, because this one removed this one. Okay, so this is the beginning of the sell zone for this 1 minute area of supply. This is where we'd expect price to have a bounce. Price came to it. We moved through this area a little bit deeply into this area of 1 minute supply, and then we moved away. Okay, and down, we also have something down here where we have some price attempts just here where we have this, and you can see that we have this right here. It's tested a few times. We had a test, but a failure. This one moved above. This one moved above. This one came a little bit deeper, and we went away. So this here, I've got a new mouse. It's a little bit jittery. This here is the area that removed the supply, and the buy zone was established just here. We went a little bit deeper because nothing happened when we came back this day. We had to go a little bit deeper. We had slightly bigger response. So now the buy zone, this demand is here. Okay, we test the child a few times, and we pull the slingshot back one last time, and price rallies. We pull the slingshot back another time, and then this is where price finally leaves. Okay, so it leaves from this area here, right here. Okay, to the deepest retracement since this area was established is maybe one pancake there, if you're lucky. Okay, price pokes through it. Okay, and then it moves to the opposite side of the market. So now you can ask yourself, did price move through this one? It has, but it has not been removed because price did not trade below it. Okay, so price went up, tested it, went a little bit deeper into this. Slingshot was pulled back, and this is where we're currently now, which is right here. Okay, now price poked into that one, and we have the origin of the move that went through it, and the origin is simply like a swing that we spoke about a minute ago. We have that here, so we have the parent, we have a child, so we have a child area. Remove this one here. So we have this here. Okay, so this is what we have. And then the deepest retracement since this was established, is right here. Okay, this was the first, this was the deepest retracement. We tested something in here. I can't see, this is on the 1 minute chart. It's not possible to see. See, we just had a bit of a reaction at this one here, and now we'll watch it and maybe we'll poke into that area. There, so now price is looking for, is trying to advertise cheap, good prices to sell at. Okay, now we're deep into the child. Okay, here is the parent. Okay, often price moves through children and into parents. I mean, this terminology could be completely misunderstood. Okay, and so now price, if we look at this and you say, where did price go to? Price went to here, for this area here. We're getting closer, and so price will keep trying to move higher, move higher. And this is a 1 minute chart. We don't know what price reacted on down here, something big, because we had an enormous move. But and the process repeats itself over and over and over and over, and it goes on forever. Okay, let's have a look at something else. Look at the pound American dollar. Let's go to a proper time frame. Okay, so let's have a look at this. First of all, step one is you want to find those areas that have been tested and removed. Here we had an area, and you can identify this by looking at where price, levels that price visits. And if you have a difficult time eyeballing this, you can actually go to the line chart and it'll show you. You can get like a horizontal line. You can move it around. You say, well, yeah, here we had like a couple of tests, and then price went through it. Okay, so that's a potentially interesting area. And so you could maybe mark that one off. Then you'd say, okay, what area? Where's the slingshot? Where did price return to prior to removing that? And if we mark off this area just here, it's going to look like that. And again, we had a high here. Price went higher, but we came back. This one was the one that caused price to trade and hold above this high here. We tested it once, we tested it twice. So the beginning of the buy zone since the first test, oops, was here. Price went a little bit deeper, so we're almost gone. You can see we've actually eaten all the pancakes in off this plate just here. So now you ask yourself, well, this one's gone. So what area removed it? First of all, find the deepest slingshot prior to the removal, and that is right here. Right here. And then this one's gone, so we'll move this back here. Now it looks like this. So this is where you want to sell. Okay, and the wicks are telling you everything. The wicks are actually the clue. You have to find where they have to go to in order to cause price to turn. And this area here was removed when price was able to rally to the edge of this area of supply. Okay, so this is where you would sell. You would not sell here or here or here. You would wait for price to come back up. And you want to choose this one because this one here is the one that removed this one. So you almost have to link them together. You can't just you can't just say, this has a really nice departure. It's got like a couple of white candles, whatever. I'm going to trade there. You can't do that. It's you really can't do that, because if you're trading supply and demand simply by looking at really big candles that leave, and you'll lose money. And you have to find these really nice areas that the wicks are pointing to in order to identify the most attractive prices. Okay, and look at this one. This is just a really good example. This one is gone. What area of supply did it? This one. Where is the sell zone for this area of supply? The high of this wick. Where did price come to? About a pip past that, and this is where it turned around. And again, it looks like magic, but it's not magic at all. It's not magic at all. Let's go to a different time frame, maybe the 4 hour, and we'll have a look. So if we look at, okay, let's look at this. Here we had price turn around. Price came down, we moved up, we came down, we sat on this area, and we left. Where is the deepest retracement since this area of supply was established. It's right, let me zoom in. Yeah, it's right there. So this is where we could expect price to go to. And the reason I use that one is because these two candles are related, because the body, this one, is within the range of the previous. Okay, this is not a distribution candle. This one, we had a micro supply, we had a slingshot, price pulled back, and then we left. So this is the place where we would expect price to turn around in the future. We didn't get there just yet. Next time price manages to get up there, maybe we'll see a reaction at this price point. So we have to find these areas that are responsible for doing damage. We have another one here. So we had this right here. Notice that this candle was formed, it was white, another one. The slingshot was pulled back to here. And so this, I would just take this and I would mark it off like that. So this is where I would look to sell. The sell zone is the high of this one. So this is the cheapest price we'd sell at. Okay, so you want to sell from the high of the slingshot and higher. And price, we went a little bit deeper and we left. We went back into the area and then we left. Okay, so you have to train yourself to look for these turning points. Let's try and find something else. We can have a look maybe on the daily chart. Actually, that's not a pretty chart, is it? Let's just try and find something else. Maybe, I don't know, something. The Kiwi American dollar. Okay, let's go here. So, okay, so notice right now, price seems to be having a tough time moving below this. And this is an interesting area. Let me make sure it is, because here we had a high rejection, and then we had this area that was formed. The price flew up, the slingshot was pulled back, and then we went north, rallied, and then we left. Okay, so that's what we have there. Morning, Albert. And so if we mark this area off just here, notice the price is having a bit of a tough time moving through that, isn't it? We had one test, we had two tests. Move this thing out of the way. And so I'm expecting price to eventually move through this. And when it does, I want to identify the area of supply that moved through it, and I want to identify the slingshot that is responsible for forcing price to push through this. And right now I can't see it, so there's nothing to do for this area of demand. Okay, you're using supply and demand as areas to trace, but and so you identify them and you buy and you sell at them, but you also need to mark off good areas of supply and demand and wait for them to be removed. And then when they're removed, then you start looking for your entry, because you have to focus on the area of supply and demand that removed it. And so this is a really good example of that, how we mark this off. You can see it's important because it was tested once, twice, but it's still, the price point is still holding. At above price, if we just mark off the highs, kind of do an average of them, maybe zoom out, and here, let's have a look. I mean, here, we had the exact same thing happen again, where we had, sorry for jumping around, where we had, let's find this. So we had this area of demand. The buy zone was here. It's tested a lot, and now it's gone. And so you can see that in price gap down, and let me zoom in so it's clearer. We went through it, we went higher. We went through it, we went higher. Where did price have to go to in order to move through it and trade below it? It had to go here. So we actually have this one right here. This is the candle. This is the slingshot. Let me remove this one now because it's gone. And we have to see where price came through. This is the area that did it, because the slingshot was pulled back and then we left. Yo. Oh, scrolling. Fingers falling off. Not really. Yeah, and this is where we had one go. We didn't quite make it. We had another one, and this is where we went. So we actually have two lovely areas to watch now for price to consume. So right now, trading in here between this and this is a bad idea. So what we want now is we want price to either remove this one or remove this one. When this one's removed, we sell the supply at the sell zone to consume this. When this one's removed, then you buy at demand, or rather from the buy zone of the area of demand that moved through this. And you know it's an important one because we had reactions like this. So a lot of supply and demand people tell you the more times an area is tested, the weaker it is. And while that is kind of, well, technically that's correct, you don't really care about that because you want these areas to be tested many times and then you want them to be removed. Okay, and so when price tests stuff like this, this one, we would have maybe sold up here, okay, but we wouldn't have bought down here because this is just not a pretty departure. What it is, it's a price sensitive area, but I wouldn't buy here because of this area here. This doesn't strike me as being a beautiful area. The reason I mark this one off is because when it's removed, then I want to sell at the supply at the sell zone that removed it. Because historically it's been important, as is this one here. All right, does this stuff make sense? I hope so. I hope it does. Should we do another example, or do you guys have some questions? Because we're already on 42 minutes. I thought if you guys have some questions and we can grab those. I could keep rambling on all day, so see here. Okay, here's another example. Price has not been back there. So again, to make it easy, we can use it like maybe the line chart. You can see, well, tested, fail, fail, fail. We have a lot of kind of fails this area, so we can kind of mark off. And this seems to be a pretty good one, doesn't it? Price kind of comes back to this area a few times. What area did it? This one did just here. This one, the slingshot, pull back to here in order to move through it. So if we go like that and mark it off, you can see that we've got something down here. This is not beautiful by any means, but price did manage to move through it. Okay, and if we mark off the area, we could actually do this. The sell zone would be here. We poked into it, went into the supply, we left. We tested it. See, now this one is gone. Price went down, we kind of messed around. But this one here, maybe we'll see the reaction at the low of this one. Just here, because when price came down to this level, we managed to move through it. So this could be an interesting price point just here at the 6170-ish area for the reasons we just discussed. And this is just a very nice way to show us where we have a huge decrease in price, slingshot pullback, boom. And you can see these other ones as well. The lower price goes, the more of these slingshots you have. We had this one here. We had this child. Price went down, the slingshot was pulled back, and then we left. So we reference this in the future. Price went to it. Once price visits it, then the sell zone becomes the high of the deepest retracement, which is still here. Once it's visited, then you want to find the next one above or below. And we have that one just here. Price tests that one once, twice, 3 times, and now it's gone. Okay, this is not a very clear one on this chart, so maybe on the hourly, there will be some clarity. You can see that price went up, we failed, we went up, we failed. Here it is, right here. So let's remove all of these objects. And this is where we have it, right there. This is the one that caused price to hold above it, and the beginning of the buy zone is a low of that area right there. So this is where we can expect price to have a bounce in the future. This is a 61.86 area. So we'll see. Okay. Good. Do we have any questions? We've been going on 46 minutes. FX Street, what do you reckon? Okay. Noel is asking, do you wait some time after the price left the zone before validating it as a possible bounce? Yeah, so, I mean, this one is valid simply by the departure, because when price came back down to this area, it's validated. So at the point that price moves up like here or something, then I know, okay, cool, we have a price sensitive area here that we could look to trade. And so I don't wait a whole lot of time, but I'm looking for price to move through. If you look at this one, we had a bounce, something in here, and price went up to it, we tested it, went down to it, we tested it, we failed, price came back to this level here, right here. And from this point on, price went through this area here. And so sometimes they're validated in one bar. This one was validated in maybe 3 bars. So maybe on the close of this candle, then I know that we have a selling opportunity up here. That makes sense, no? Cool. Good. Is this Noel from my Discord channel? Yes. Ah, bonjour, mon ami. Nice. Glad to see you in here as well. Lovely. Yeah, I've been out of bonjour. I haven't done a lot of live webinars for FX Street for quite some time because the internet, as you know, Noel, is really, really poor where I am. And so I've had to just upload these manually to FX Street. But we're returning. I'm moving back to Europe. I'm moving to Mallorca, Spain, and we're flying out on the 3rd of July. And so fingers crossed the internet should be a little bit better than where I'm currently located. Cool. Oh, nice. Glad to see you in here, Noel. All right, should we do one more example? Is there anything that any of you guys want me to have a look at? We can use that as perhaps something that's setting up. And you guys just spit out like a symbol. Otherwise, I can grab one. Let's have a look at the Austrian, unless any of you jump something out. Have a look at the Aussie Japanese yen. So right now, I can see that we have this. We have this area of demand. It's been tested several times. The beginning of the buy zone is actually at the area of demand. So now I want this one to be removed. So I'm waiting patiently for this to be removed. Okay, what do we have above price? We don't really have anything above price. We had this one here. I'm looking for turning points. So we had this one here. It was tested. The area that did it is this one. Price tested this one. We didn't manage to go through. We had another go. Price went through it. The origin of this move is here, the beginning of the sell zone is right here, like that. So that's what we have. These are the 2 areas that we have right now. And this is interesting because price managed to move through this one. This one is interesting because price managed to move through this one, which was tested. So you always have to find these areas that have tested something and then removed it. Okay, it's really important to ensure that that step is included. Otherwise, I mean, if we just grab another chart, it doesn't matter what it is. Let's do the Euro USD. If you're just kind of going through and saying, I'm thinking, oh man, we have a really nice area. Let me get all these lines off. Let me turn all these off. False. Okay, so if you're looking at areas to just leave, you think like, wow, we had a really nice departure there. This is a cracking departure. So you say, cool, I'll sell there. I mean, it hasn't done anything. So even though it's It's a price action pinup. When I say pinup, I mean, you remember when you were a youngster and you used to maybe read girly magazines, and if there was like a really pretty girl, you know, with like a swimsuit on, you would maybe put that picture on your wall. Or for the price action trader, maybe this would be a pinup because you think that's such a beautiful a price action move. So maybe this would be a pinup, but look what happened. Price didn't respect it at all. Price tore through it. And why is that? Well, that's because we had this price point here. Okay, price went here, price went a little bit deeper, but we didn't manage to move through it, did we? We didn't move through it. So there's nothing to do there. So even though it looks pretty, it has to have accomplished something. If we go my the area of supply, tested it, we came up to it, we pulled the slingshot back, and then we left. So this the area tested it is here. This is where price came to. Exactly. And you think like, good Lord, it's incredible how price reacts like that. And it is actually really incredible that the price does that. But this one was removed, not by this one, not by this one, but by this one. This little white candle here, price came back to the bottom of it, and then we left. The area of demand for this one is here. Tested, and now it's gone. And now, currently, we're waiting for price to move through this. We're waiting, it hasn't happened yet, so there's nothing to do. So we're looking for price to see if it can manage to move through that. So we'll probably see price come up, have a deeper push, maybe move a little bit higher, have another one, and maybe on the second or the third, then close below and beyond that area. But this isn't a pretty one. When I see stuff like this, I'm thinking this is a reaction to demand, which is going to be lower. I don't know, somewhere here. Good. We're running along close to 1 hour. FX3, Adina, what do you reckon? Are we good to go, or are there any questions? We're not that many in the room today. If you guys want to write to me, super. Here's my email, Pipnotic.com. That's my email. You shoot me an email if you have any questions. Yeah, and I'll be doing more of these webinars now that we're moving back to Europe, where my internet is a little bit more stable. Cool, but we'll wrap up for now. FX3, thanks so much for having me once again, and thanks Noel and Albert, and who else do we have in here? And Savio and Craig, Samuel, Adam. Hey, thanks so much, Noel. All right, checking out for now. Everyone take care, and thanks again for being here. Thanks, Dina.